Hello, this is a first look at the Linux operating system openSUSE Slowroll. This is a modified version of openSUSE Tumbleweed, which is a rolling release Linux operating system, rolling release in the sense of Arch Linux, from the openSUSE SUSE Linux Enterprise Linux operating system family. Big updates once per month, continuous bug fixes and security fixes from Tumbleweed. You can download an ISO here. The ISO file has finished downloading. Let's install in a QEMU Virt Manager virtual machine. My host operating system is Kubuntu 24.10. Start the software virtualization. Application file, new virtual machine. Forward, select the ISO. openSUSE Slowroll. It does not detect that this is an openSUSE operating system. Let's select openSUSE Tumbleweed as the template for the virtual machine settings. Then gigabytes of random access memory, 14 vCPUs, 200 gigabytes NVMe, openSUSE Slowroll. Customize, finish, start, newest motherboard, chipset, BIOS. All of the settings are okay, probably. You might want or not to change this thing. Make sure you only have one CPU socket inside the virtual machine. Virt.io, the fastest virtual hard disk bus. Virt.io, the fastest network interface card, and begin installation. So you could not customize anything if you want. Booting from the ISO. I'm not sure what this thing tries to do. Says boot from hard disk. What is that? Installation. Maybe I did not understand, but booting from the hard disk. So if you boot inside of the ISO, you want to do probably one of the following things. Either you want to install the operating system, or you want to run the operating system that's inside the ISO file in live CD mode, or you want to rescue an installed operating system from your hard disk, or maybe you want to, I don't know, check your random access memory for errors. And in there, in the boot menu from the ISO, the order should have been start in live CD mode or install the operating system, and then recover an existing installation from the hard disk should have been further down in the list, not on the first position. Okay, so we're in graphical user interface mode, X11 or Wayland. This is a graphical user interface installer wizard. It progressed 3 wizard pages, and it cannot progress further because it requires that I agree to the EULA. So I go next. Activate online repositories. So the repositories are as follows. Update Slowroll, which is the first one, with update at the middle of the URL. Then OSS and non-OSS. Then openH264 and debug and source. I'll keep the defaults. And then if I don't have enough multimedia codecs, probably Pacman. Let's look a bit at this Pacman multimedia repository. x86-64. There's a ton of libraries in here. There's 3D graphics, wireless drivers, audio video codecs, FFmpeg. The FFmpeg is in here. And this. Okay, the openSUSE Slowroll installer is asking for questions. Desktop with KDE Plasma, the first option in here. I prefer KDE Plasma to GNOME. Next. Okay, let's go through the packages in Pacman with the CK. There's Flash Player. GStreamer bad, ugly, AIF. This is an image format. libav, libquicktime, software sample and software scale, vdpau, VLC, libvulcan, x264, x265, and VLC version 3. Okay, let's look at the questions and the next page in the installer wizard. Suggested partitioning. It wants to use BTRFS and a partition for BIOS boot and a partition for swap. I usually swap from BTRFS to ext4, but this time let's actually use the suggestions. Next. Network Time Protocol Server, Eastern New York. Full name for the Linux user. Never automatic login. System administrator, probably the user that can run the sudo command. Password is too short. And in here we have the possibility of enabling the SSH server. Which I will try to do. So I want the SSH server. I don't want AppArmor. I'm not sure why it's suggesting AppArmor. I thought they have switched to SE Linux already. SSH port is being blocked. That's a problem. Let's disable the entire firewall. This is a virtual machine. It's not exposed to the internet. It's behind network address translation. So mbr dev vda grub2. KD plasma 6. Yeah, I would change in here from AppArmor to SE Linux, but again, let's keep the defaults as much as possible. CPU mitigations. Yes. This should be it. Install. Oftentimes, the openSUSE installer, the openSUSE Tumbleweed, will not really install packages from the ISO, even though the ISO is super large, 4.2 gigabytes. It will actually download most of the RPMs fresh from the online repositories. And that makes the installation take half an hour, which is way, way longer than an equivalent installation of a Ubuntu Linux operating system, for instance. One of the installers that takes the longer to actually install the first time the operating system. This looks like a branding issue, openSUSE Tumbleweed minus Slowroll. It should have been openSUSE Slowroll without Tumbleweed and minus. Let's see what we can do meanwhile. Style sheet selection for YAST2. So YAST2 is the same framework for configurations, X11 settings, installer, package manager, etc., which existed in the year 2002. So more than 23 years in service in SUSE and openSUSE Linux operating systems. Let's see this release notes button. Some interesting numbers, 84.87. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure why it says 2024 when the ISO that I have downloaded is from February 2025. It says openSUSE Tumbleweed instead of openSUSE Slowroll. I'm not sure where this text comes from, but it might be really old. As I can see the timestamp 2024 June. See the online version. I clicked on this. Hopefully nothing bad happens. Okay, so it needed to work on more than 3,000 packages, and 1,000 packages are still remaining to be installed. It has finished installing all of the packages. Save installation settings. Installing Grob, the boot manager. Preparing system for initial boot. Okay, and now it's going to reboot. the first time the computer has run booted from the ISO, and now it will boot from the hard disk, from the virtual hard disk, and the ISO is no longer inside the virtual CD-ROM drive. Okay, and we're at SDDM, the desktop manager for the KDE Plasma 6 desktop. It wants to use the X11 KDE Plasma 6 session, which is okay. Let's not even connect at all and just install the XRDP RDP server. This is my wiki page and mariusp.github.io XRDP. Let's see the instructions for SUSE. So openSUSE Tumbleweed. I have selected from the list of desktops to install the first one, which is KDE Plasma 6. I have disabled the firewall. I have enabled the SSH server. So I should connect to this virtual machine using an SSH client. So let's do that. SSH, username, IPv4 address. Yes. Let's see if we can become the super user using sudo. Asks the password for the user root. No. I'm not sure what it said, why it said in here password for root. It should have said password for administrator because probably the user root does not have a password. Okay, let's continue. So we should install two packages, XRDP and Xorg XRDP. Let's do that by copy pasting. Let's see if these packages have made their way from the openSUSE Tumbleweed repositories to the openSUSE Slowroll repositories. Two packages to install. Main repository open source software. Okay, and the service for XRDP needs to be enabled. Because it's disabled by default. So we both enable it such that when we restart the operating system, the XRDP service will be running, and minus minus now means that it's also going to start it right now. So this is the equivalent of systemctl enable XRDP and systemctl start XRDP. And now if you look at the status, should be enabled and running. Okay. Let's try to connect with a remote desktop protocol client and see if everything works perfectly out of the box. If not, we're going to need to do additional settings for the administrator user. So the command line would be like this. And the IPv4 address ends with 162. XVNC is a problem. We need to select Xorg. And it starts something totally unexpected. So as the user administrator, I should have in my home directory a configuration file hidden.xinitrc with this content. Okay. So not as the user root, so exit from being the user root. Now I'm the user administrator. Create this file. Let's see what text editors are available. Nano. Start Plasma X11. Yes. And now we might need to reboot the computer. Let's actually do that. Let's see the computer how it's starting. So it has a 5 seconds timeout, which is way too large, should be maximum 1 second. In the bootloader menu, let's try to connect now using the X3 RDP client, Remote Desktop Protocol client. XVNC is a problem. KD Plasma 6 is starting for the first time, so configuration files are going to be created in my home directory. And we're shown the openSUSE SUSE standard welcome application. This is probably from the update tool. Okay, wrong branding. Most of the documentation, wiki pages, etc. that you will find online are either about SUSE or about openSUSE or about openSUSE Tumbleweed. The resources for this Linux operating system, openSUSE Slowroll, are mostly made up of a wiki page, a Reddit, and some other very limited resources. But in broad lines, it's identical to Tumbleweed with the caveats that are mentioned in the wiki page. So the caveats are like this. Once new software is released by the open source and free software communities, that if it's packaged for openSUSE factory and passes all of the tests, will make its way to Tumbleweed, and the RPM packages that are part of the openSUSE Tumbleweed remote package repositories will get into the remote package repositories for openSUSE Slowroll following these rules. Big updates once per month, bug fixes and security fixes as they come into Tumbleweed will make their way into Slowroll almost immediately. Okay, then you need to make sure you're not using openSUSE specific third-party RPM packages and RPM repositories. Don't mix them with Slowroll. You can migrate from Leap to Slowroll. You can migrate from Tumbleweed to Slowroll. There's completely different package repositories between Slowroll and Tumbleweed. There's a different pacman repository specific for Slowroll, so don't use the one for Tumbleweed. And then almost everything, all of the information that you have about Tumbleweed should apply to this operating system, barring some extra issues, bugs which still might exist in Slowroll and might have been fixed in Tumbleweed. But then again, in a couple of days, all of the fixes from Tumbleweed will get their way into Slowroll, which should be at most after 1 month, barring additional impossible to predict issues. Okay, so we are connected to the openSUSE Slowroll Linux virtual machine. Being a rolling release operating system, it doesn't really have a version. It's up to date the moment that you install all of the updates. Let's try to do that. So that would be sudo. It's mentioned in the wiki page. In here says zypper dup. Copy paste works between the host computer and the FreeRDP machine. Package kit is blocking zypper. Where can we see that thing? This guy. Okay, how do we exit this guy? Quit discover. Control C. Let's run again. You are about to do not an upgrade, but a distribution upgrade. Okay, so again, don't switch the RPM package repositories. Don't mix them between different versions of the different openSUSE distributions. Don't put an RPM package from Mageia, for instance, or from a very different Linux operating system. Continue. Yes. Says that 7 packages, RPM packages, will be downgraded and libsdl 1.2 will be upgraded. That's unexpected. Okay, let's run it again. Computing distribution upgrade. Nothing to do. Okay, and now we should be up to date. So we're using the only version of openSUSE Slowroll, the latest. We're up to date. Let's look at the out-of-the-box experience. There's openSUSE branding as it exists in openSUSE Tumbleweed, the desktop background, the SDDM theme, the start menu icon, the fact that it uses and then changes to the defaults in KDE Plasma. The fact that it has two virtual desktops by default. Let's see how we do that. Okay, so once we're I have deleted the second virtual display. And now, since there are just two virtual desktops, the KDE Plasma 6 widget from the main panel is no longer needed. Okay, so these three applications are pinned by default in KDE Plasma 6 as far as I know. System settings, the KDE Plasma Discover App Store, and the file manager Dolphin. Firefox is installed out of the box, and the welcome application is running. There's this checkbox, show on next startup, Windows to Linux. Whoa, now that's a pretty image to be greeted with. Ugly. Okay, so this is a yellow bar. There are certain proprietary drivers such as NVIDIA and packages such as Google Chrome that openSUSE cannot include by default. If you have an NVIDIA device and wish to use the proprietary drivers, read this article. To install Google Chrome, just download it from Google. Google provides a repository. Some codecs for playing media cannot be included on openSUSE due to licensing issues. So this is similar to the Fedora situation where you cannot, the Fedora project, the Red Hat company cannot ship RPM binary packages for some Linux packages for, I don't know, VLC, FFmpeg, x264, x265, etc., FAAD. And those are shipped by a third-party RPM repository from the community. Additional package repositories. So whenever you use third-party repositories, even if they're as aligned as possible with your Linux operating system, in this case openSUSE Slowroll, there still might be a bit of a time period between the moment that new important changes happen in the official first-party RPM repositories and the moment that existing RPM packages are being rebuilt inside of the third-party repository such that they are compatible with the first-party repositories. So you might have breakages, for instance, when you do a zypper distribution upgrade. Pacman. Essentials, Multimedia Extra, and Games. Only Essentials is available for our operating system. Essentials, Multimedia, let's see. No, all of these are available for openSUSE Tumbleweed and for openSUSE Slowroll. Then it gives the same warning, the same disclaimer that you often will have, there will be issues where something doesn't work correctly on your computer. just because you have third-party repositories enabled. Or maybe you will not be able to upgrade all of your packages, or maybe you will not be able to install some packages for a while. So you could deny. So when you try to install another package, because something is wrong in the pacman RPM repository, it might suggest that you, I know, uninstall 200 RPM packages from the official repositories and then continue. In cases like this, don't read what's proposed by zypper to run zypper from the command line, and do not accept such solutions which will uninstall a tenth of your RPM packages that are installed on a computer, and then you will not be able to log into KDE Plasma or similar things. Okay. This is the openSUSE wiki. So this is Mozilla Firefox, the default web browser in openSUSE Slowroll if you choose KDE Plasma 6 in the installer. This is the theme. The scroll bar doesn't look that great. It should be a bit wider. You can choose to use the kwin window manager title bar. So let's try that. And it works as expected. And it's available in the first party repositories in the openSUSE Slowroll RPM repositories. No need to use Flatpaks or Snap. Okay. And by default, you have the KDE Plasma desktop correctly configured, which means a ton of functionality. The system settings with all of its options, panels, the fully customizable via widgets KDE Plasma desktop, the integration with the official App Store of the KDE Plasma project. So you can go right click and uninstall an application. Let's actually uninstall an application. Let's uninstall Kereversi. Right click, uninstall or manage add-ons. There was an issue during the update or installation process. It's trying to find out the list of RPM packages which can be upgraded. So back to where we were, right click on Kereversi, uninstall. Fail to obtain authentication. there are issues that I can encounter in the Discover KDE Plasma App Store. Okay, it doesn't. So it uninstalled the application now because it offers me just the option to install, not the option to uninstall. Yeah, unfortunately, this application probably uses package-kit via the functions that are exported by the package-kit library, not via command line executables. So it's not easy for the application discover to say, I have run the following 3 command lines, and this is the full output and standard error that I have received from those command lines, because package-kit has command line executables. And right now we have no clue if it tried to uninstall the RPM, it just changed the default from RPMs to flathub. What's actually happening? So it actually changed between runs. So I've run discovered 3 times. The first time the default, at least for this package, was openSUSE Slowroll RPMs, and then the next 2 runs it showed that the default is flathub. Where are the settings in here? So system settings looks like settings. It's not clear that this is a list of applications, whereas this is the settings of the application discover. What's the default source? The default source is openSUSE Slowroll, not flathub. So I'm not sure why it's proposing for this application that I also install it from flathub if I have it installed from RPM packages from openSUSE Slowroll already. And the fact that it's, I don't know, doing something here instead of just showing the page of the application. Yeah, it's this application is at its start. It's not, if I'm going to test it as a manual tester, I cannot propose that we release this software, the Discover App Store. Okay, so in order to actually uninstall, which is the spirit of what I wanted, I went to the KDE Plasma Start menu and right-clicked on the application KReversi and said that I want to uninstall it. Then I should be presented with just a small message box which says KReversi, do you want to uninstall it, yes or no? But no, it's doing a ton of things and I need to jump through these hoops. So I need to select the combo box from flathub, click on the element openSUSE stumble with Slowroll. I'm not sure why a combo box would show radio buttons. Why would it do that? A combo box, of course, has just the possibility of selecting just one option. So these icons should disappear from here. Okay, and now we select remove. I'm not sure where I can see the progress. Did it start? Did it not start? Why is uninstalling a single RPM taking seconds? Yeah, it's creating a ton of stress to do package management with a graphical user interface tools. You don't exactly know what's the current progress, what are the correct errors that happened, if everything worked correctly or not. You need to restart the graphical user interface application twice or 3 times to actually see if the change has happened. But for people that do not know how to use the Linux command line, this is the way to go. Applications for the most often used actions that a user would want to do on a computer. Installing and uninstalling applications is not for regular users. Regular users do not install applications willy-nilly on their computer. They often ask help from somebody which is more knowledgeable. Hey, how do I uninstall this K-Reversi game? Okay, then there's integration with the other control center. So this would be one of the control center system settings from the KDE Plasma. And then there's YAST2 /sbin/YAST2. Remember. Okay, so it's YAST2 as you know it. If you have used any version of the operating system in the openSUSE Linux operating system family, very similar to what existed a number of years ago, with just this new presentation. So in the year 2003, it was Qt, so written in Qt, this presentation, the control center, and it was as a tree view. And now it's presented as, similar to macOS Classic or something, as a list of group boxes. This change probably is from the Novell Simian time, from what I guess. Oh, it's interesting. I'm clicking on this list view in the left tool window, and it's just advancing through the group boxes. It's not filtering just the network services, control center tools. Remote administration VNC. Let's see that the firewall is disabled. The firewall, which is probably firewall B, is inactive, and if I start the computer, it will not start. Really abort? Yes. Host names should say, sure what this thing is. This is the editor for /etc/hosts. I expected the editor for the computer name, which is openSUSE Slowroll in a single word or lowercase. Logs viewer. The logs for the last 24 hours. Change filter. From previous boot, since systems boot. and descending. How do we do that? This looks like the default KD Plasma Qt widgets theme. Could be that. Okay, so there's a number of ways of installing packages and uninstalling, so managing packages, RPM packages in openSUSE. You have command line tools, there's zypper, there's probably a apt like wrapper over zypper. There's the graphical user interface tools from Yast, such as this guy, software management. And then there's the KD Plasma App Store Discover. It's doing things. Package. What am I seeing here? I'm not sure where is the list of packages I need to search, otherwise it's not going to be shown. MC. How do we install MC? Like this. Package name. M. Okay, right click, install. And how do we apply this thing? Accept this button. Continue. Wow. Modal, useless modal message boxes. Finish. Software repositories. The RPM remote repositories have priorities. The suggestions when you add third-party repositories was to use priority 90, not 99. In here it says zypper add repository, but with priority 90. Pacman Essentials or all of the Pacmans. So graphical user interface tools, which are very intimidating for non-technical users, very intimidating. But they allow, if you know what they're doing, if you're very advanced openSUSE user, allow you to do some very complex scenarios using exclusively graphical user interface tools and not touching the command line, which is something that was mandatory in the year 2000 because the sysadmins that only knew how to manage Windows used to not touch cmd.exe at the Windows terminal at all and expect that everything in Windows Server 2000, for instance, with all of its servers, Active Directory, MS SQL Server, the DNS server, the DHCP server, etc. All of those should be configurable in graphical user interface mode using graphical user interface tools and interfaces similar to Microsoft's MMC, which is exactly what Yast provides. Samba configuration as a Samba server, Active Directory. Wow. Really abort, all changes will be lost. So a graphical user interface tool should know that it's not dirty, the user hasn't changed anything, and don't scare the user with all changes will be lost messages when no changes will be lost. Really abort? Yes. Install hypervisor and tools. What's this? I'm not sure, just installing Word Manager doesn't work. Okay, and then what are the other features of KDE Plasma? There's the start menu. There are other two start menus, application dashboard and application menu. The default one is application launcher. You can see that it's bold. The application that allows you to edit the start menu, KDE menu editor. How do we close this thing? We can't. We need to choose something. That's a bad user interface. Should have a close button or something. So using a really up-to-date Qt version 6.8.2, 6.9.0 is still in beta 2. A really new version of KDE Framework 6.10. Okay. Help Center. So the other applications which are minimorum part of the KDE, of a very minimal KDE Plasma desktop. So there's the Help Center, the Spectacle, which is the screenshotting tool, because it's associated with the print screen key on your keyboard. And it's sometimes the simplest way of creating a screen recording. For instance, you have a bug on your computer and you're requested to create a short screen recording that reproduces the issue. One of the simplest way to create that screen recording is to actually use Spectacle and do that, if I know how to do that. But I don't know how to create a screen recording using Spectacle. Video saving. Take a screenshot, but how do we take a screen recording? Screenshots. Shortcuts. Okay. Record screen. Windows Alt R. Okay, but what if I want to record the screen without pressing Windows Alt R? And maybe Windows Alt R does not work because I'm connected via VNC, via Zoom, via blah blah. I'm in a remote desktop inside of a remote desktop inside of a remote desktop. So I want to start recording without pressing any keys, just clicking on the mouse button. I don't know. There's some issue in here where the window background is clipping part of the icons for Slowroll and openSUSE. The top part is missing. Lost and found X screensaver. Why is X screensaver installed on a KDE Plasma desktop? Totally should not be. Kcalc is also part of a minimal list of applications that should be installed with our KDE Plasma 6 desktop because some keyboards have a desktop computer keyboard key. You want an emoji selector. Arc is part of the functionality that's provided by the file manager to create files and compress them. Compress to zip file. And then there's system monitor and info center. So this is showing the usage, CPU usage, disk usage, random access memory usage, networking usage, etc. And this one is showing hardware information and not only. So this is similar to the top command line, and this is similar to the old lshal command line, lshw. So top is this guy, and lshw does not exist yet. Should be run as the user root. And it provides a view of the hardware that's available on your computer, in this case a virtual computer. Okay, let's try to actually do something useful with this virtual machine. So I have Kate already installed and favorited. I have LibreOffice that I do not use, some applications that I do not use, a web browser, all sorts of applications that I do not use. Let's see how we install in here Chromium. Chromium BSU is a game, and we want the web browser from the open source web browser from Google. So zypper install Chromium. I'm not sure what's taking a ton of time in here. Maybe the resolving of packages is not cached, or I'm not exactly sure. Installing GNU libc++ ABI. No, libc++ is not from GNU, that's std libc. This is the LLVM libc++. Okay, let's see Chromium. It's in here. Okay, how do we install VS Code? Visual Studio Code from Microsoft. I don't know. Let's ask Microsoft. New private window. I don't want this bookmarks toolbar. Visual Studio Code. So it says that SUSE is the same thing as Fedora, the same thing as Red Hat, and there's an RPM that's built on a very old version of Red Hat that should work on all of these operating systems. That's the way I read this thing. So RPM for x64. Enterprise Linux, so this is Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. Let's see how we install this thing. Going to open it with Arc, which is a bad suggestion. I'm not sure how well this RPM will work, one which was created for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 on openSUSE Slowroll. And I also guess that this RPM will add an additional RPM repository, or maybe it will depend on RPMs with names that do not exist in openSUSE. So let's try the other direction, which is install snap, so Ubuntu snap on openSUSE Slowroll. Let's see how that goes. I choose a random application from the Snap Store. I go to the install button, install Articulate on your Linux distribution, openSUSE. Enable snaps on openSUSE. For this, there are two repositories, one for lib, another one for tumbleweed, which I also need to add to the list of remote repositories. So you just don't get away from adding non-first party RPM remote repositories. There's options for lib and tumbleweed. There's no option for openSUSE Slowroll. So maybe we need a version for tumbleweed. Hopefully this works. So this command line. Let's edit a bit the command line. So in here it says that we should swap out openSUSE lib with openSUSE tumbleweed. Let's check that this URL works correctly. And it does. So there's a snapd and bindings for glib, qml, qt, and then a backend for the GNOME App Store. Okay. Hopefully this doesn't break anything. The same priority, 99, as the other repositories. And then it says it needs a GPG key. Let's do that. No need for sudo because I'm the user root. Wow. Distro update from Snappy. Okay, says nothing to do. Then I need to actually install snapd, one of the RPMs from that package repository. The one for x86-64, this guy. Then I need to enable two systemd services. Fortunately, this installation of openSUSE Slowroll still uses AppArmor, not SE Linux. And this should be it. Just restart the computer and install Visual Studio Code. So let's do that. More than 5 seconds timeout, maybe 7 seconds. Okay, it finished starting, starts really fast. I'm connecting with the RDP client. Always remember to not use xVNC but xorg. And for some reason the Firefox icon was removed from the KDE Plasma panel. Let's fix that. Pin to Task Manager. Okay, so this is the Snap Store, the page for Visual Studio Code. This is maintained by Microsoft themselves, as far as I know. So let's install it. It uses Classic in order to have access to the entire disk. It's downloading the prerequisite snap packages. Core 20, which means Ubuntu 2020 LTS. The code snap, Visual Studio Code. Okay, it installed hopefully correctly. Snap the AppArmor service is disabled. I have just run this command line. What is this? So it's enabled and running, that's okay. And then the other one was snapd.apparmor. Which is not enabled. Okay, and I'll restart one more time. Okay, let's connect. Not XVNC. We'll need to fix this issue if possible by commenting out this option in the combo box, so XVNC. Let's actually do this first. So sudo su mc/etc xrdp. The configuration is this one. So xrdp.ini from the directory /etc/xrdp. I can't see anything. I need to find the section with xvnc. Similar to ini files, there's these chapters or sections with the title between square brackets. So let's try to comment out everything. Such that xorg section is the first in the combo box. So xvnc was previously the first in the combo box, so you either move the xvnc section after the xorg session, or you just comment it out. Let's see if this works. Control F2. Yes. And reboot again. And now the xvnc element in the combo box has disappeared, and the correct one is the first, such that we do not need to select anything in the session combo box any longer. And we don't land in the xvnc session by default accidentally. Okay. So we've installed Visual Studio Code from the Snap Store on the Linux operating system, openSUSE Slowroll. Let's see if we still have warnings. I guess that this issue has been fixed. So it's a warning that occurred sometime in the past, and nothing checks if the warning is still does still apply or not, has been fixed or not. Snapd and snapd.upArmor. Seems okay. Now let's see if Visual Studio Code works correctly. For that, I probably want to have Crusader installed. So it wants to install two packages. I'm not sure if this is using Qt 5 or Qt 6. A quick first run wizard. Tab bar position at the top. Okay. And the viewer editor, I want to use Kate as the editor. Okay, some more settings. Embedded terminal, no function keys, no status bar. And it looks okay. Let's do a git clone. Let's actually install the KDE framework, the tool for building KDE software. KDE.org, get involved. The fonts don't look great. They're compact. Let's see if the fonts are configured correctly. So we want anti-aliasing and RGB and slide. So the default settings are really great, but I want full hinting. The font families, I'm not sure they are okay for this web page. Okay, they seem to be not wide enough, each individual font, so the M size is too narrow. So get started, development, operating system. I'm using something like openSUSE Tumbleweed. Setup development using KDE Builder. Okay, let's run this thing. Make sure we're not a user root. installs Git and to Python modules. Again, zypper takes a lot of time to think. So before it provides a plan on what packages to install, it takes a while for zypper. Let's run these things side by side. So in order to run KDE Builder, we need to have in our path ~/.local.bin/bin, which is this thing. Let's see. So which KDE-builder. It works correctly. Echo $path starts with ~/.local/bin and then /usr/local/bin/usr/bin/bin and /snap/bin, which probably means that /sbin is symlinked. So let's see that. /sbin is a symlink to /usr/sbin. But sbin /usr/sbin is not a symlink to /usr/bin. So maybe I'm offered a path that does not contain sbin because I'm not the super user. That might be. Okay, next up we run. So we have run this block of command lines, then a second one. Let's check that this file is okay. The fonts are a bit too small. Okay, everything looks okay in here. No need to do anything about /.local/bin. Install distribution packages. This will install 1,000 of RPM packages, at least. The package selection is using the RPM feature cmake parentheses. So you can install, you can go zypper install, and then instead of providing the correct name of the RPM package, you just say cmake and then in square parentheses a cmake file, the name of a cmake file. So it installs all of Qt 5, all of Qt 6, and other dependencies of Qt 5, Qt 6, and KDE frameworks 5 and 6. No update candidate for a package. There's no package config libxml2. This is maybe because I don't have the RPM packages for source and debug enabled. But still, it identified 540 RPM packages to download and install. Okay, and we installed Visual Studio Code and we can already test it. So tilde slash dot local slash state slash sysadmin repo metadata code dot. Okay, do I want to trust the parent directory? Yes. First run wizard of Visual Studio Code. Everything's done. Don't show the welcome page again. Yeah, the fonts are small, similar to Windows, whereas I'm used to fonts being a bit larger because that's the default in Ubuntu. Let's actually see the difference in size. So 10 and 9. Versus 10 and 8. Oh, it's the same size. I'm not sure why it seemed a bit, the font seemed a bit smaller to me. Maybe this one, the fixed width is 9 points instead of 10. Let's change this. Okay, Visual Studio Code seems to work okay. Let's go to the other Git repository. Tilde slash dot local slash share slash kd minus builder. Let's restart Crusader and pin it. Pin to task manager. And now the fonts are a bit larger. Hopefully. Code. Trust. Extensions. Python. Python from Microsoft. Finished installing. It's still installing packages from the 540, which are needed by kd minus builder. Meanwhile, let's see if we can run kd minus builder in the debugger. We need an entry point, which is this guy. Let's put some breakpoints. And let's start. Python debugger. Debug the currently active Python file without arguments. And it all works very correctly. Okay, so that's about it. I'm happy with what I saw. The openSUSE Slowroll distribution looks okay. It's still not better than openSUSE Tumbleweed because openSUSE Tumbleweed has better support. For instance, the Ubuntu Snap has RPM package repositories for openSUSE Tumbleweed and does not have for openSUSE Slowroll. It's not as widely, openSUSE Slowroll is not as widely advertised on the openSUSE website as openSUSE Tumbleweed. Maybe not as many people know about openSUSE Slowroll compared to openSUSE Tumbleweed, so maybe even for you is better to just stick with the better supported path, which is openSUSE Tumbleweed. And then I managed to install openSUSE Slowroll. I looked at the default RPM package repositories. There's the important third-party package repository Pacman for multimedia encumbered codecs, audio-video codecs, patent encumbered. I could use the install open the Ubuntu snap and install packages from the snap store. I guess that Flatpak also works correctly. Let's actually check that. Let's install Google Chrome from the flathub. So flathub. It's unverified because it's not made by Google, it's made by someone else. But it's, as far as I know, Google files, so Google binaries, which are repackaged as Flatpak. Don't quote me, I don't know exactly what it is. Wrapper. But it's often installed. In statistics, you can see that, I'm not sure what these statistics represent, but it suggests that each day it's installed 5,000 times. Installs over time. So I'm not sure if this is total number of installs or installs per day. Not sure. Okay, let's install this. It's a Flatpak ref, but I'm not sure if I have Flatpak already installed and enabled. Let's see that. Which Flatpak? And it's installed. Wow. It's easy to install on openSUSE. It's an RPM package for Flatpak. So Flatpak, and then get set up, and then openSUSE, and it's just a package. Zypper install Flatpak. And then this command line to add the flathub repository to your Flatpak installation. And then you can start installing. Okay, with this time we'll also be able to find out if the Flatpak remote flathub has been added already. But I guess it has. Okay, so let's see how we install. Like this. Flatpak install flathub com.google.chrome with an uppercase C. Okay, it installs 24.08, the free desktop org.freedesktop.platform. and the Google Chrome stable. I'm not sure how to read this part. I'm not sure why I'm asked to put the sudo password 3 times in a second. Four times in a second. Really, really bad user experience. Update system repository. So Flatpak is repeatedly asking the sudo password for each and every package and more. It's punishing me because I did not prepend the Flatpak install command with sudo probably. So in order to install Google Chrome, you need to enter your sudo password at least 20 times. Either is some glitch, just restarting will fix this issue, or this part has not been manually tested because it's not acceptable. Okay, let's see if we can start Google Chrome. Command not found. Google Chrome. Don't sign in. No thanks. Got it. Incognito mode. Okay, so the fact that Flatpak is pre-installed and it's also suggested in the wiki page of openSUSE Slowroll. So this is the wiki page. https://en.opensuse.org/portal:/slowroll. And in here, if I remember correctly, I saw that they recommend that we install packages from flathub. Nope. Maybe in the old page. Not really. Okay, so the fact that the Flatpak RPM package is pre-installed, the flathub remote is pre-installed is important. And for graphical user interface tools, also the integration with Plasma Discover is enabled. So in the KD App Store, Plasma Discover, the Flatpak and flathub are enabled as a source. Not a default source, but a source. I'm not sure how to display the settings for Discover. I remember this thing used to be longer. It showed that the default source is the RPM repositories for openSUSE Slowroll. yeah, something went wrong. So this is it. openSUSE Slowroll is pretty good. The caveats is that I cannot prove that it's better than openSUSE Tumbleweed, and I guess it's not, because it doesn't have as many users, as many developers, as many third-party software packages. And being SUSE and backed by a company, there's this issue where the patent encumbered audio video codecs cannot be shipped as part of the first party official RPM repository. So things like FFmpeg, VLC, SMPlayer, etc. require for full functionality third-party RPM repositories. In this case, it's called Pacman with a CK, P-A-C-K-M-A-N. Thank you.